Let's dive into some of the most shocking confessions ever. Story 1. Neighbor kept parking in my spot, so I made sure he couldn't leave. My apartment complex has assigned parking. I have to highlight this fact, but my neighbor kept ignoring that and parking in my spot. I asked nicely and he just brushed it off, saying it won't happen again, not the first again. So one night I parked right behind him, blocking him in completely. Then I accidentally overslept and took my time getting ready in the morning. By the time I finally moved my car, he was fuming and late for work but couldn't say a thing. Story 2. Got off birth control. Realized men are hot actually. I just got off birth control for the first time since I've got my period basically, and holy shit, I'm so goddamn horny. I thought I was asexual in my early mid-teens, then thought I was a lesbian for a minute because women. Need I elaborate? Before realizing I was bi and just more attracted to women. But now it's like, women are still fucking gorgeous, but what happened to all the men that they suddenly look so handsome and fuckable? The same guys I'd roll my eyes at for wearing the same few t-shirts and cargo shorts every day? The ones who put no effort into their appearance with their bedhead out in public. Someone needs to tell these men that I'm about to drag them into bed with me if they keep coming to my workplace with their damn cute bedhead. I'm talking to you, redhead man who's at least twice my age, with your dumb little smirk. Anyways, just trying not to be such a slutty little bitch that I fuck all my friends and destroy my social circle. PLZ, don't destroy my DMS too badly lol, I'm not desperate enough for anonymous nudes yet. Story 3. I kinda think I might have fetal alcohol syndrome, which would explain a lot. My mom drank when she was pregnant with me. Not a lot, but regularly. But it was back right before doctors weren't worried about that shit, late 1990s. As a kid I had an IEP for ADHD, but I'd sort of just sit there catatonically until a teacher prodded me into doing something. School was a constant struggle, and work today is too. I didn't prompt myself to get tested until I was in my early 20s when I could afford it myself. Parents weren't into it, didn't want a disabled kid. Neuropsychiatric test results blew my mind. My mental processing speed is in something like the 0.3 percentile, which meets the medical definition of the R word. I technically read at an 8th grade level, and my math skills are about the same. I have a disability that impacts my fine motor skills, motor dysgraphia. But my verbal reasoning skills are off the charts. The way my doctor explained it to me is that if I didn't have these limitations, my IQ, which she also explained as a flawed indicator, would be somewhere in the 140s or 150s. Right now she'd guess I'm at about 115. Basically, I got lucky. If I wasn't naturally smart, I'd be really struggling through life. I'm a somewhat successful white-collar professional who could probably be doing a lot better. Don't get me wrong, I'm smart. Like, really smart, but I struggle with a lot of basic stuff. And the only explanation I can come up with is my mom drinking. Can't tell you we've got a family history of this stuff. Told mom about the diagnoses and she was really embarrassed about it. Not sure how to feel. Story 4. Living in Japan is fantastic, but now I need purpose. Hi. This is my first post on Reddit. I moved to Japan 4 years ago, first to study AI in a Japanese university, then started working there after graduating from my master program. So far my years spent as a student were wonderful. Meeting new people on a daily basis in order to improve my languages skills in English and Japanese, including meetups or casual dates. I also built a strong network of friends with whom I could go traveling from time to time. My will to stay in Japan after graduating was strong as I wanted to challenge myself and see if I could survive in a foreign country, so I went all in my self-learning of Japanese, and eventually landed my first job 3 years ago. I was happy to move in Japan because I liked manga and anime, and once being there I wished to discover more about this culture. I read novels, learned how to make Japanese friends and how to work for them despite sometimes having hard time with the language and culture barrier. As of now, I feel more than home here than anywhere else in the world now. However, the moment I fulfilled my goal of building a life in Japan all by myself, I strangely started feeling aimless. My daily challenges became less appealing to me, asking myself things like, will I be able to find my significant other? Can I have a hobby I could commit for more than 6 months? What can do to increase my income while skilling up on things I am genuinely interested in? I really wish I could set greater goals than those, and sometimes I see myself daydreaming of a harder but meaningful life without putting much effort in doing so. I am not asking for any advice in life, yet I just wanted to share this odd situation I am going through since last year. Story 5. I sold videos of my pregnant belly when I was 19 and needed the money. This is maybe relatively tame, but maybe because it's so out of character for me I've felt such shame about it ever since. I got pregnant in college, this was a few years ago now, and I was the only girl on campus who got pregnant and kept it, haha. I was very embarrassed, and the father wanted nothing to do with me. It had just been a casual fling. I was waiting tables and still going to school, and pretty broke. My family was supportive, and I knew I'd get all the babysitting I needed, but stuff is expensive, you know. Anyway, I noticed that once I started showing, I was getting tons more attention from guys. Like, tons more. Hit on, asked for my number every day. Some of it creepy, but most of it actually more respectful than before, though the creepy stuff was creepier, if that makes sense. I mentioned this to a friend, and he told me about pregnancy fetishes. What the heck, I thought, and just curious at this point I looked it up. At around this same time, I got a DM on Instagram. I hadn't made my page private, and had posted a few pregnancy-related things on social media. This person offered to send me $100 for a video of my belly. I was like, well, why not? What he asked for was a pretty innocuous video. It was such easy money, I started sending him other updates like that. I also made a Reddit account and found other perverts, said lovingly, who were looking for similar stuff. This was before OnlyFans, or at least before it blew up like it has now. All these guys were content with basically PG-13 stuff, rubbing my belly, putting on old clothes, weighing myself. Some would want me to eat a big belly and talk about how full I was, or pretend I shrunk and swallowed them. I mean, it was kinda fun how creative the requests were. And people paid crazy money, especially for anything where I acted. I put all the money away, and after I had my kiddo I deleted the account. I feel fine about what I did, but I worry sometime about the videos being out there. I was able to find one once that someone had uploaded with the right keywords. I hadn't made them sign any contract not to do stuff like that. Sometimes hadn't even asked them not to share it. The money was so easy I just got careless, but I suppose they could have just uploaded it anyway. No one would ever suspect me of doing stuff like this, and I have complex feelings about it now. I made a lot of money to support myself during a hard time, and it was fun doing it. Some of my frequent customers were fun to work with, but I feel weird and stupid that an unknown amount of it is just out there, and could be found, especially with like AI face recognition stuff. Has anyone else done this kind of thing, but not made a life of it? I don't identify as a sex worker or anything, although I was during that time. I also worry what to tell partners. I told my last ex, and showed him the one video I could find online, which has since been taken down when the site it was on cracked down on stuff where it wasn't by professionals. So it's also weird because I don't have any proof that I did any of this, so I worry people will think I'm making it up, for what reason I don't know, but I think I'm just being neurotic about it. Story 6. When I get a white, swollen taste bud, I just clip it off with nail clippers. I sometimes get these white, swollen taste buds, usually on the tip of my tongue. It's presumably from running my tongue across my bottom permanent retainer. When I get them, it is so uncomfortable and annoying that it occupies like 90% of my thoughts and drives me absolutely insane. A few years ago I discovered a slightly barbaric solution. I simply take some nail clippers and clip off the taste bud that's bothering me. It bleeds for a little but not for too long. Of course it hurts pretty bad to do, but the quick, 30 seconds of pain to cut it off versus a week of constant discomfort is an easy call for me to make. I also have a tongue piercing, lots of tattoos, and have a relatively high pain tolerance, so maybe that's why I'm down to go this route. Lol. Story 7. I know my parents are planning on kicking me out when I turn 18. I am going to turn 18 in a couple weeks. I know they are planning on kicking me out. They have not told me specifically, but I heard them talking about it. I never asked them about it either. I know they hate me, they have always hated me. I don't like them either, they want me to be religious, and I really could not care less about any of that stuff. When I wear makeup they tell me to take it off, and when I don't they tell me I need to try and look better. I just don't care anymore. I haven't talked to them in weeks, or my siblings. I refuse to respond to them. I don't know what I will do when my birthday comes, and right now I don't really care. Story 8. There's something wrong with my body and I don't know what it is. There's something wrong with my body and I don't know what it is. I 19F don't know what's wrong with me, but I know it's something. I am very sick. I'm losing my ability to walk, can't climb stairs, can't stand for longer than 5 minutes, constantly pass out, have what I believe are absence seizures, lightheadedness, dizziness, blurred and double vision, extremely high heart rate, trouble breathing. I sometimes can't get out of bed. I can't stand long enough to shower. I have to sit in the shower. Sometimes I don't have enough power to sit up and drink water. Sometimes I can't bathe myself and my partner bathes me. I lose feeling and control of my legs, have extreme muscle spasms, feel pins and needles from knee down and on my hands, dislocate joints, almost constant nausea, and horrible pain. I'm not talking like, oh, I sprained my ankle, as in I broke bones, and it's worse than that. My boyfriend comforts me as I have sobbing fits over the pain and losing control of my lower half. He has found me passed out at the top of the stairs as well as rushed to me as I fallen down them. We've even tested myself to see if I'm faking it, which I asked him to do, by completely supporting my weight, as in having me stand up and then dropping me to see if my legs would work and catch myself. After the second time of me asking him to do it, he told me to stop because I was getting bruises. That's another thing, you can poke me as hard as you poke a button in the car and I will have a bruise the next day. I'm not actually writing this, I'm using speech to text because the keyboard is blurry. Quite often I cannot get out of bed, and I've been to doctors before and they just keep saying it's anxiety and that it's all in my head. My boyfriend is in the army and has some medical training and has witnessed all of this firsthand and constantly reassures me that it's not in my head. I don't have answers. I've looked into POTS, EDS, and a bunch of other things that I can't remember these specifics for. I'm in so much pain and I'm running out of the pain meds that they gave me, about 20 or so. I take them as sparingly as I can and I only have about 3 left. I feel like I live off of Tylenol and ice packs. My boyfriend is genuinely concerned at the amount of Tylenol that I take in order for it to make a difference. It keeps me up, I cannot sleep, I often just lay in bed staring at the ceiling crying. I'm not looking for sympathy, I'm looking for help. If anyone has any advice, I'm literally willing to do anything. I have passed out in public and collapsed on the ground when my legs have stopped working. I get weird looks and people always ask what's wrong with me. You know, I want to be able to say, oh, I have this condition, but I break down every time they ask because I don't know. I used to be a pretty active person. I did sports, dance, theater, carpentry, and I loved playing with my dog. Now it hurts to walk from my room to the bathroom, and sometimes, yes, I literally have to crawl. I already have pretty bad mental health and have been hospitalized for mental health before, and losing what I feel is my freedom is making everything so much worse. Story 9. My intense desire to deeply understand the nature of people and also to be deeply understood. Having seen the ugliest part of life but also the most beautiful, I feel like all people have been through something pretty horrifying and have the potential for being able to reach for what's beautiful. I'm putting a lot of time in self-reflection and studying psychological concepts along with philosophy and comparing them to my experiences, in order to maybe someday make a difference and guide people to coming out of the dark and into the light. I feel like I have a pretty good sense of what holds people back, but when I try to put them into words, they get awfully mixed up and it frustrates the hell out of me. I'm using empathy and compassion to my utmost ability, and I am applying it to even the people who have done me the most wrong, understanding that even their backgrounds have consisted of some pretty horrific experiences. I'm even still debating on whether or not their abuse was conscious or unconscious. Is there a name for this? Is it even my business to try to understand anybody but myself? Story 10. I faked playing my instrument in the school band all throughout middle school. In middle school, my mom forced me to join the school band. I never had any music lessons or played an instrument before that, so I felt really dumb because all of the other kids took lessons and knew how to play their instruments. I don't know how this happened, but I somehow was able to join and ended up being the only French horn player. I faked playing it the entire time. I would literally just put my mouth on it and click random buttons without actually blowing any air out. And the funniest part is when we went to the state band competition, the judges gave me a shout out at the end for a lively and skilled performance. So either I was super convincing or all of those judges were full of shit too. After the competition, my teacher and classmates praised me for getting a shout out and everyone thought I was a great French horn player. Thank God I never had to do a solo because there's no way I could have pulled that off. Story 11. I got sad by my stepdad and I haven't told my mom. My mom remarried my stepdad about 10 years ago. At first he was nice, there would be yelling and arguments from time to time between them, but it was fine for a few years. My stepdad started drinking every night and the yelling, slamming doors, and calling my mom names got worse. During COVID we all stayed home. At this time I was 16 years old and I would stay up all night playing on my Xbox with friends online, and about 1 to 2 a.m. every day my stepdad would start coming in my room drunk while I played online. I didn't really think of anything at first because he would just sit there and talk to me about school, game, etc. One night he came in and sat down next to me and put his hand on my leg and started moving his hand up my leg. I flinched and he walked out. The next night he came in and I pretended to be asleep hoping he would just leave, but he didn't. He climbed in my bed and I stayed as still as possible. He then touched me inappropriately and I told him no and he continued. I kept trying to push him off of me and tried to scream, but he covered my mouth with his hand and then proceeded to re me and I cried the entire time. I felt so disgusted and I hated myself after it happened. I woke up the next morning and he didn't even know what happened that night, and I should have told my mom what happened, but I was scared she wouldn't believe me and she would put me in a mental hospital. My sister had told my mom he touched her inappropriately about a year before that happened, and she didn't believe my sister and I didn't believe her myself, and I felt so stupid that I didn't believe her now. I still have never told my mom or anyone about what happened that night, but I should have. Things got worse after that night. He started being really abusive and he would hit me and my mom. We finally called the cops and he got arrested for domestic abuse. I'm now 20 years old and my mom is in the middle of divorcing him, and I'm so happy about that. I am just not sure telling her after 4 years is a good idea. My mental health has been so bad ever since that happened. There's just so much weight on my chest and it hurts so much. Story 12. I don't think I'm inherently a good person and it worries me. I know it may seem strange, but I don't think I'm a good person. It's kind of hard to explain. I look at the actions of those in my life. Each time it's like they take a more selfless approach to things, and even though I do as well, I find myself oftentimes wanting to be selfish. I don't feel bad about wanting to be that way either. I think I'm a pretty selfish person at heart, but I really don't want to be. It just seems like being a good person comes so naturally to everyone else, and I can't help but notice and wish it would come so easily to me. It has nothing to do with how I was raised either. My mom's the anchor of my family in the best way and takes care of others without a second thought. Don't get me wrong, I do good things. Donate my time and any extra I may have. Show the people in my life love as best I can. But I just feel like I do good things, not that I'm a good person. Story 13. I'm constantly overthinking in every moment. My brain never shuts up. So, I'm a 21-year-old girl, and I just have to get this out of my system. I have so much trouble being present, even in happy moments. It makes me feel like I'm stuck in a thought cycle and I can't get out of a cage in my own brain. I journal, I exercise, I get sunshine, I spend time in nature. I have a girlfriend, I have friends, I have a job, yet it's so hard for me to be in the moment. I do suffer with a bit of OCD and anxiety. Maybe meditation will help. I don't know, it's just stressful. Maybe it's all the overstimulation of this society. I was just in Ecuador, and I feel like if I wasn't in my head so much I would have enjoyed it 10 times more. It's like I don't allow myself to be happy. Anybody else feel this way? Story 14. I've been lying for 10 plus years that I'm allergic to pineapples. So a little backstory to how this all started. I was probably around 12 years old, 24 now. I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters. Both of my sisters are allergic to something, multiple things. I guess I was feeling left out with them always being looked after more when eating, going out, etc. So one day I lied that my tongue and throat was feeling itchy while eating pineapples just so I could get attention, and I've been keeping up with the lie ever since then. My now boyfriend and father of my children even thinks I'm allergic to pineapple. The truth is I love it. It's one of my favorite fruit. When I'm alone I eat pineapples like I'm doing a drug. Pineapple juice is so delicious I could drink it every day loudly crying when we have family gatherings and there is pineapples or a dish with pineapples. I get so upset. I can't eat it. Then everyone will know the truth. Loudly crying help. Story 15. I was hit as a child and to this day, I have a hard time not hitting in reaction to my anger. Like the title says, when I was little, my mother would slap me anytime I did anything wrong. Didn't finish dinner, talked back, shut a door slightly louder than she liked. This went on ever since I can remember up until high school, where she was so sick with cancer that she didn't have the energy. I moved out at 18 and she died just a year ago when I was 23. I have this intense urge to hit when I am mad or upset. If I stub my toe on a table leg, I automatically hit the table and yell. It's like I can't help it. If I have a bad day, I want to hit. This is especially true when an animal or child annoys me, and it is why I don't have kids nor pets. I actually ended up hitting a cat I had a year or so ago. She ran up to me when I was studying, knocked over my coffee on my computer, bit my hand to bleeding, and meowed the ugliest meow. Without even thinking, I hit her off my desk and screamed, "Fuck off," causing her to run and hide. I felt horrible. Once I was able to calm down, I hit myself back. I tried to make myself feel how she would. I rehomed the cat to my cousin, immediately afraid of what I would do again. I hate rehoming, but this was for her safety, and it would be selfish to keep her knowing how angry I got at an innocent animal. When I see kids acting up in stores, I want to hit them. When I see the little 4-year-old scream and throw a tantrum, I wish I could go over and hit them to shut them up. I have never lost it like that, and exactly why I won't ever have a kid. I know I'm horrible. I need to go to therapy. I've made an appointment for next month, earliest I can go. I just have this intense anger that never goes away. I am never satisfied. I scream at myself because I get so angry. I just needed to confess this. No one knows this secret. I don't lash out on others in person. I have a private social media where I often comment super mean things. I end up deleting them. My close friends and family think I am super sweet. They'd never guess this side to me. I am a petite woman, barely 100 pounds, so people assume I'm small and sweet. My husband knows a bit, but definitely not the extent of my anger and how I think. I feel alone. I am living a double life. Story 16. Crashing out because of my appearance. A bad photo is making me lose my mind. I've always thought of myself as an extremely body-positive person. I genuinely have experienced self-love pretty consistently for nearly the last decade. I'm 26, and for the past year or so, every now and then someone will take a photo of me that's shockingly unflattering. Today my work posted a photo they took of me. One look and I started freaking out. All of a sudden, I look huge. I only weighed about 125 pounds, but my face looks swollen and my cheeks just look excessively round. My teeth look crooked and my lips are way too thin. My whole face looks asymmetrical. I feel like I look horrendous and it's made me cry. I looked in the mirror and took some photos in my phone, and both of those look okay. I know that eventually we all age and none of this will matter at some point. I also know logically that I'm way more critical than anyone else would be, but it doesn't matter. I am losing it. Story 17. I habitually stole cooker parts from house parties in my 20s. Every time we got invited to a house party after a night out, I would steal bits of their cooker, oven. Be it the hob rings, buttons, bulbs, etc. I just could not help myself. I don't know why I did it. I didn't tell anyone I did it, and I would wake up in the morning with bits of cooker in my bedroom, and I just chuck them out. I would gain nothing from doing it, and I always felt really bad for the people whose cooker I'd taken bits off, but sure enough, next time I was at a random's house, the cooker was getting raided for parts. Rinse and repeat. Eventually stopped mind. Story 18. I'm far from graduating, and I can't tell the full truth about it. I'm M19, apprenticing major. And I never wanted it. I'm aware that this part is deadly. It was chosen by my mom. I passed chemistry and anatomy 1 fine but had a C on anatomy 2 and is currently retaking microbiology. I don't know where I'm standing for microbiology because I just did its first practical. I tried my best, but it doesn't make it up for how I felt at the end. Not only that, I can't retake anatomy 2 because I passed with a C for my university. And both anatomy 1 and 2 are connected, so if I want to retake the second class one would have to retake both in a different university. I'm gonna be honest, I could care less on whether or not I became a nurse. It's the mom part that's so hard to deal with. And I tried warning her, literally told her I'm going to change majors, but she kept insisting. I only told her about the microbio retake but not the anatomy one just yet. But she knows I failed microbio. Would a nursing program want me at this point? How much do I have to keep pleasing and buying myself time for one person? I have many other people tell me I'm in the right, and in a case, one told me that I'm being bullied by her. I'm sure this feeling will end soon or I'll solve it in the future, but I am so stuck. I know what to back up or at least how to sort of save my ass in, but I could never find the passion in anything anymore. All I do is fuck all and draw shit. I hate it. I'm aware on how wrong this all is and how it's on me. I could go all day talking about all the things I've done wrong and stupid, but that's all just excess and an excuse to be a wimp. I'm trying to be better, but at the end of the day I'm stuck. Stuck of thinking I have a future after all of my wrongs. Story 19. As an adult, I once got a supermarket to push me around the store in a stroller. I used to occasionally see older kids being pushed around in special needs strollers, often McLaren Major Elite models. They look like regular umbrella strollers but are slightly larger and designed for older kids. For a while, I found myself intrigued by the idea of being pushed around in one. Eventually, I gave in to my curiosity and bought a second-hand one from eBay. At the time, I read on Tesco's website that they offered wheelchair assistance. So, I took the stroller to a store a bit further from town and asked a staff member if they could take me around the store in it, and this nice woman pushed me around the store in it. I've always felt guilty about it because I'm not disabled, and I took advantage of the wheelchair assistance service for my own selfish curiosity. Story 20. People constantly tell me my kid has my attitude. I fucking hate it. It's all kind-hearted jokes. I'm a Sour Patch Kid. I'm sour than I'm sweet. But I've been hearing it constantly. From multiple people close to me. It makes me rethink the image people hold in their head of me. I've always been told I'm caring and kind, understanding and observant of others' feelings. But now I DK anymore. I've been working on my attitude and my mood sense before my son was born. But now every time my kid acts a certain, I can't help but feel like it's my fault. That I'm the reason he acts out or is sassy. He is at that age where it's normal. He is still a toddler. But it has been weighing heavy on me. IDK, maybe this isn't a confession. More of a ramble of my feelings that I should probably just say out loud. Story 21. About to graduate to be a therapist, and I just can't seem to quit doing drugs. I'm 4 months away from graduating with a degree to become a therapist. My internship is providing therapy for kids. My job also serves children. I had a drug problem as a teen but recently relapsed. I managed to quit the fentanyl and heroin a couple months ago but still use meth daily. I consider dropping out and going to work for the Taco Bell up the street on a daily basis, but I'm so close to the finish line. If I still haven't quit by graduation, I'll have no other option but to serve the people a bean and cheese burrito, I think. This isn't sustainable and I feel like a total bastard. Edit. Most of you have been much kinder than I was expecting, thank you. I was prepared to be ripped to shreds, and maybe I was posting here to try to endorse my shame? Who knows? I am pleasantly surprised with the care I've received instead. I believe shame often keeps us trapped in the cycle of addiction, and care and connection are often the cure. Thank you for trying to provide me with the solution. To those of you who were dicks, yeah, I already know I'm a total piece of shit for this. And lastly, some clarifying information. I am definitely already in therapy, but therapy isn't a cure, it's a tool, and my tools aren't working as well as they once have. I do not use before I show up professionally, but I fear that it's a possibility in the future if I don't figure it out. The Taco Bell thing is not me whining about having no other career options, but more of me realizing I have no other ethical options. I am aware that I have the potential to cause severe harm, and I am actively trying to quit every day or figure out another option where I cause less harm. Also, yes, I definitely have an ADHD diagnosis. Unfortunately, because I have a history of substance use, getting a prescribed stimulant can be especially difficult. Most doctors will not prescribe, despite the fact that I actually have had a lot of success with Ritalin in the past. Story 22. Trapped in a loop. No future, no escape, just a life on autopilot. I'm 20F, Muslim Arab. I moved to another Arab country 2 years ago because of the war in my homeland, which completely changed my life. I won't say it was for the worse, but I can't say it was for the better either. I've been stuck in the same spot for 2 years. No social life, no academic progress, nothing, 'cause lost my university and the only life I know for myself there. And now I just sit here watching everyone my age move forward, almost graduating, while I, a medical student, am left behind. I started a new life with no friends, no independence, nothing but the same repetitive cycle. Sleeping, eating, cleaning, and trying to be the good girl. My family always expected me to be. TW. I'm not. I never have been. I've always been the depressed, weird, mentally unstable daughter. As my family likes to say, a month ago, one of my brothers got married and moved out. I was so happy because, for the first time in my 20 years of existence, I finally got a partially separate room where I could sleep alone and feel like I had control over my own life, even for a moment. But, of course, I couldn't have that for long. Another brother moved in with me. I'm sorry for saying this, but I truly hate him. He's the most selfish person alive. Eats, drinks, makes a mess, and never cleans up after himself. His presence stresses me out to the point that I've stopped using the room except for sleeping. He's mean, constantly irritated, and takes his anger out on me. I hate him with every fiber of my being, and I wish he would leave as soon as possible. We just had a fight, and now I'm completely breaking down, trying to calm myself down before I spiral again. I shouldn't say this, but I'm losing my faith. I feel like I'm turning into the worst version of myself. I was clean from self-harm for 3 years, and now I'm back at it, aggressively, because I have nothing else to do. All I think about lately is leaving this fucking world because nothing will ever change. I feel so hopeless. My only future is either waiting for some random guy to show up for an arranged marriage, dragging me into an even worse life, or staying here, stuck with family issues, forever being a loser. I hate myself to my core. I wish I didn't exist. I feel resentful toward myself, my family, and so many other things. I don't know what to do. And, unfortunately, I've already started preparing my exit plan, but, knowing me, I'll probably fail at that too. LMAO. Story 23. I went off my meds about 4 months ago, and I haven't told anyone. So I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was a freshman in high school. I took Adderall all throughout high school and into college with no real problems. In fact, I even had really good grades up until my second year of college. Slowly the medicine stopped working because my body built up a tolerance for Adderall and they switched me to a different medication. They put me on Ritalin, which was disastrous and gave me terrible insomnia among other side effects. Long story short, my doctor, for some reason, came to the conclusion that I had bipolar and that was the reason why the Ritalin wasn't working for me. He just stuck me on like 4 different medications and said that as someone with bipolar I would never be able to get an Adderall prescription again. I tried the medicine for 6 months and for 6 months, I didn't even have the energy to look for a job and I didn't work a single shift for Amazon Flex or DoorDash. My medicine kept getting switched around to get rid of the medicines that were giving me side effects. I think I had to have been on like 20 different prescriptions over the course of that 6 months. I was miserable so I quit taking the medicine even though my doctor had made me sign something saying that I would contact him if I made any changes to my medicine. Within 3 days of being off the medication I had lined up 3 job interviews. I had already worked 2 shifts with Amazon Flex. I'm never going back on medicine again unless it's like an antibiotic or something. Story 24. Bizarre way of ending things with someone you haven't met. Not a confession but had this done to me instead. I was talking to a guy for 2 months, and everything was going smoothly until we both agreed that things might not work out in the long run. I had noticed that he was very emotional and impulsive about certain things I didn't align with, so we decided to end it. Afterward, he reached out, wanting to patch things up and continue exploring our connection. Keep in mind, this was all over text. We had never met in person. To his surprise, I declined, and he was in complete disbelief. The next day, he told me he had been admitted to the hospital with some kind of illness. Since he had been feeling unwell before we ended things, I started talking to him again to offer support. A few days later, he began saying he wouldn't make it and the process will be rapid, resulting to possible death. Then, after a week of me worrying about his health, I received a message, supposedly from his brother, informing me that he had passed away. When wishing him my condolences and asking if there will be a funeral to attend, there were no locations shared and asked for privacy. I respected the decision and parted ways. When I told my friends, they were skeptical and started digging around. Turns out, he was alive and well, actively adding girls on other platforms. To this day, I still can't stop laughing at the fact that someone faked their own death just to avoid rejection or possibly wanted to ghost me. Has anyone else had something similar or bizarre as this? Story 25. I keep telling my now partner that I'm with them because they are who they are. I used to be with one of our mutual friends, that me and my partner both knew. My current partner found me when I was still reeling from the effects of my ex. When we first talked about feelings and all, I told her I was over her. I don't think I was completely. However, when I got with my partner, I kept the identity of that person hidden, 'cause I knew it would hurt my partner. My partner came up to me one day, asking questions and constantly interrogating me about it, telling me they couldn't sleep without knowing who that person was. I told them who it was, and they acted like they were fine with it. A week goes by, and my partner has a dream that I'm still texting my ex behind their back. I'm not, to be honest, and that I'm only with my partner because they remind me of my ex. I reassure them, telling them I'm not texting them and that I'm not with them because they remind me of my ex. Truth be told, they are like my ex in a lot of ways. The way each relationship started is eerily similar. They both have similar physical features, similar names, similar behaviors too. Sometimes I catch myself before I call my partner my ex's name. Story 26. I stole candy from a child because she was irritating me. Ages ago we threw a birthday party for my daughter at a Chuck E. Cheese type place and invited her whole class. One little girl was such an obnoxious little shit it was unbelievable. Her mom dumped her there and bolted, and it was clear why. The first thing she said to us was, "Why did you have a party in this dumb place?" running around yelling swear words and showing her butt to people, knocking my kid out of the way to blow out her birthday candles, screaming because I wouldn't let her open the gifts. I used to be a nanny and my patience level is pretty high, but she was pushing every button I had. My kid went to a liberal-ass school full of gentle parent types with kids named River and Raven, and even they couldn't help commenting on how bad they wanted to smack her. When she shoved my daughter out of her seat and called her stupid for not giving the brat the tickets she had won herself on her birthday, I was fuming. I told her I was going to tell her mother and she turned around and flipped me off. Ooh. Obviously I couldn't actually discipline someone else's kid, so as soon as she left the table I ate all the good blue and red Airheads out of her goodie bag. Only left her the gross orange one. She came back and screamed that someone had eaten her candy, but nobody cared, not even the other children. Story 27. Should I say something or should I just get caught on purpose loudly crying? So literally damn near every day in the morning and or at night, my neighbor opens her window, which is directly across from me, and I can see everything. From tits to ass to her recording herself naked checking herself out in the mirror. Sometimes I'll even wait by my sink and put a chair and just wait for those blinds to open skull. I want to say something so frickin' bad, but I don't want to sound like a creepy weirdo. What should I say that'll let me in? I am not even ugly either, I just get nervous. Story 28. My parents were right. The phone is the devil. Reducing the amount of time I spend in the little devil's brick, the happier I am. I have noticed a trend in my life. Every time I feel depressed, every time I feel impulsive or doing things I am not proud of, I am in front of my phone. Be it LinkedIn, Instagram, or any other social media websites, news websites, or video, I find myself comparing myself to the people who are either talking or being talked about. Almost every app is created by people who are committed to taking some slice of our time and happiness from us. They know our brains more than we know ourselves, and it shows. I open Instagram Reels or LinkedIn's infinite scroll or play any game. I won't know how I have spent so much time doing nothing, or doing something might leave you bitter at the end. I feel like I am overloaded by my phone. So much information and so much negativity drowns out the little positivity or productivity I get out of it, and what makes it worse is the fact that I am addicted to my phone. It's not even the information or the fact that I am playing a game there, it's just that it's too much information. It creates an ideal environment for unproductive comparison. No matter where you are in life, if you find someone else is doing better than you in one narrow field, you will compare yourself to that person in that narrow field and feel sad about yourself, and I do this a lot and I am less productive due to this. I feel like no matter how successful I become, I will always be unhappy if I see my life through the lens of my phone, and I know I am not alone. I rest my case. Story 29. I started camming on CB a few months ago to feel better. Hi everybody, 22 meters here. I'm a relatively shy person and I've always had problems with my body. I couldn't look myself in the mirror, and I didn't go to the beach or pools or everywhere it was needed to take off my t-shirt. On top of that, I had pectus carinatum, which made things worse. I got surgery a couple months ago. I never had a serious relationship cause I was too embarrassed to show my physique to someone, and I can't love myself in any way, and that makes it impossible for me to love anybody else. It is pretty rough. I went to see a psychologist, but the situation didn't change. I started working out, but the shame never went away. One day, I needed money to buy groceries since I'm studying at uni and my parents pay for the rent. I had some jobs, but they weren't paying enough. And I stumbled upon a Chatterbait pop-up ad when I was watching a film and entered a few streams. I quickly realized that you could make some money by camming, sitting in your home, so I decided to sign up and start doing it. It was hard for me to at first, but I realized it was easier for me undressing in front of a cam than a person. I didn't show face, and I still don't do it, so I'm just showing a body, which could be anyone. People were so nice to me. They gave me compliments on every part of my body, and that, in some kind of way, made me happy. I felt appreciated for the first time. On top of that, I was receiving money, so for me it was a win-win. So I started camming more often, and with every stream my self-esteem was improving. I made over 600 euros in streams in a small amount of time. I could afford groceries for more than a month and some things for myself. I know that real life is different, but seeing that people can actually like me, even though it is through a screen and it's sexual, made me realize that maybe I was being too hard on myself. I'm still working on my self-esteem every day. I still don't take off my t-shirt in front of other people, but now I feel more confident and I'm starting to love myself. It's a strange situation, but I needed to say it. I needed to get this thing off my chest, and I know that probably this isn't the right way to work on myself, but it is the only thing that actually helped me. I do feel some kind of regret, shame that my video are somewhere on the internet, but I can't go back. Sorry for the long post. Thank you everybody for reading until the end. Story 30. The corruption of religion, it affects our daily life. I've come to believe that religion, which was originally intended to help people spiritually through a set of rules, regulations, and rituals created by humans, has lost its way. Due to our own imperfections, religion has become corrupt, political, and divisive. Instead of being a source of spiritual guidance and unity, it has turned into a tool for power struggles and control. This realization has been difficult to accept, but I feel it's important to acknowledge how something meant to uplift us has, in many ways, become a source of conflict and division. Story 31. I'm a total failure and have let myself down by doing this. Couple of times I've let people use my body for basic needs. I was only doing it to survive. So that's what I keep in mind. It was okay, but I feel so ashamed. It was only so I could get groceries and feed myself. Makes me feel uncomfortable within myself, and I really don't want to have to keep doing it. Just feels so degrading and has led me to going to the doctors for antidepressant medication. I'm struggling with my mental health, so finding it hard to hold down a job. Feel like I've hit an all-time low. Story 32. I shouldn't have gotten in your car. In Michigan, I did something to someone's man. It hurts to admit, but I did something I deeply regret. I was in Michigan, homeless, starving, and freezing in the snow. I felt desperate. A man offered to let me watch him while he pleasured himself, and I agreed because I was just trying to survive. In my mind, I was thinking about how my boyfriend and I could finally take a hot shower, sleep together, and have one moment of comfort before figuring things out the next day. But when I got into the car, things went further. He asked me to do it, and I gave in. I gave him a blowjob, and I am truly sorry. It was over quickly, and he was supposed to pay me, but he left and never came back. I couldn't keep it a secret. I told my boyfriend the truth because I wasn't trying to hurt him. I just wish things had been different. I know what I did was wrong, but in that moment, I felt like I had no other choice. I hope my relationship is strong enough to survive this. My boyfriend has made mistakes in the past and kept them from me, but at least I was honest. I wish I had better options, but I was just trying to survive. It was my first winter after coming from Arizona, and the cold was unbearable, beautiful, but brutal. I don't know. I just hope I can move forward from this. And yet, every now and then, I think about him. Not because I want to, just because it happened. But he's not mine, and I accept that. I wish I never did it. I never wanted to, but I did. I just hope he's not thinking of me, because I don't want to ruin anything for anyone. If I could take it back, I would. But I hope he's okay, and that he's not looking for me. I was just somebody that day. Forget me, okay? Story 33. My cup is empty today. Not half full, not half empty. Just empty. I am generally a positive person with a cup half full, but today I feel down. Today I think that I'm a failure. I'm in my 50s, overweight, postmenopausal, autistic nobody. I am unfit for work and I hate to leave my house. I am educated in psychology but also have a master's in the arts. My biggest issue is to talk to people. Human interactions are draining my energy levels down. I have a calm, no drama but sexless marital life, one wonderful child, and a stable financial situation. But I can't find satisfying work for a while now and my self-confidence and self-esteem are at a low level. Today I feel like I have no reason to feel happy, like I was living a lie and the truth is hitting me hard. Story 34. Weird experience with a hitchhiker few years back. I was riding my motorcycle and a middle-aged man asked me if I could drop him off at a church around 6 kilometers away. I was going the same route so I said sure and we were off. I hate small talk so I thought it was a good thing he was quiet and didn't think too much about it. After a while I realized I drove past the church for at least 2 kilometers so I stopped and apologized. He said it's okay, then got off my bike and walked straight inside the nearby house which had its door open. I felt weird and confused so I left immediately. I regret fleeing like that, not knowing if I helped a criminal or maybe a crazy person. It is very unlikely I stopped exactly in front of the house he wanted to go, assuming he was a normal person. Story 35. I laughed at someone's appearance today during a Zoom college class. Basically, we were split off into different Zoom groups for a discussion in my English class and there was one person in my group who didn't have their camera turned on. We all spoke and then she came around to speak, turned her camera on, with a loud, "Hey guys." along with a smile which revealed she had no teeth. And then all of a sudden the girl speaking before her started smirking and I started smiling, which caused me to start quiet laughing and put my hand to my mouth as she was talking. I kept thinking of the way she revealed her face and started talking and I just couldn't stop laughing. She clearly was a bit disfigured from birth and has a condition, and I feel really terrible about it. But I just couldn't control it. After a few seconds I quickly tried to play it off by looking at my door in my room and acting like there was someone there who told me something, and I started laughing about it, but I doubt it worked. My mind just kept reminding me of it and I couldn't control it. I feel really bad about this. I don't really know how to fix it. I feel really guilty. Story 36. I have epilepsy and it's becoming a real issue. In 6 years I've had close to 30 concussions. Randomly I began having seizures. It's been years and not an hour goes by I don't think of it. They happen at the worst times: Christmas, Easter, relatives' graduation, even when I'm sleeping with someone. I keep to myself because when I go out people treat me like a live grenade, about to go off. Work is difficult because I can seize there and become an issue. It's a burden, mine to bear. But I wish it wasn't one that makes others panic at a moment's notice. I had to get that off my chest. Talking is difficult, so writing it is easier. Anyone who read this whole thing, thanks, and I hope the best. Thumbs up. Story 37. I might move in with my dad over summer and my mom doesn't know. There was a situation with my mom a few weeks ago where she called me slurs, idiot, a b*tch, punched a hole in my door and threw my phone at 4 different walls to completely shatter it. It's a common thing for her to call me an idiot or stupid when she's mad, but she hasn't been this violent since I was a kid. She also is moving to a new state by the end of summer, which is gonna completely mess up my high school years and friendships. During her episode she told me I could go live with my dad and she wouldn't care, so I texted him like a week or 2 ago and he said I could live with him. He just needs to find an apartment first. I just feel really bad because she's been doing the best she can and it feels like I am just abandoning her. My dad hasn't been involved in my life for the past 4 to 5 years and my mom has always been here, but I DK how long I can keep living with her, especially when I am practically isolated in a new town where I know no one. I've only told my 3 close friends plus boyfriend about what my dad said. Just needed to get this off my chest and see if there's any advice. Story 38. People assume that I don't speak English because I'm Asian, and I love it. From Asia originally, dual citizen now with my second one being American. Currently in London right now. There was a lady who would try to talk to anyone she sees. Sadly, it's one of those people that don't understand boundary and would talk your ears off. So I'm happy to use my native language card, which by the way is non-existent outside my native country. I live in small town America and most of the time people assume that I don't speak English at all since I don't look like I could be from there, which is kinda true. It's 96% Caucasian or STH like that. You will stand out if you're a non-white person. I work in service industry where I talk to people all the time. While I've been told that I have great personality for what I do, I always try my best to not talk when I'm in a different settings other than my work. At the bar, people don't talk to me usually, or they try to speak really slow to make sure I understand, which is so cute and nice. It only annoys me when I ask them to repeat what they say when they speak like they're mumbling, and that's about it. But other than that I love it. I love that I can decide when I want to have social interactions at my will. Story 39. I am struggling to stop drinking even though I'm underage. My country has a huge drinking culture. My dad doesn't drink, but my mom basically anyone who can buy alcohol around me does. Every incident where there's alcohol I'll drink, nobody bats an eye, it's normal, but it's so hard for me. Whenever I'm alone I crave to drink if there's anything to tinkle down it. I feel like it brings me down, I can't care how I act. My sister's pissed BC I keep drinking her stuff, but I'm too weak to admit I've got a problem. Maybe BC I've got a baby face and nobody will sell to me, or that I can't get out of my room, but it's not bad enough to be noticed. I wish I could go to school and drink. I want to just lay and drink and cry all the time. When I turn 18 I know it'll get worse and I'm kind of happy. I can be drunk in peace. I've got my mom's side of the family that's got a load of problems. My aunt was addicted to drugs, my ma drinks a lot, I've been surrounded by it. My early memories are of me and my sisters mucking about in a pub of taking sips of my man's drinks. I'll try, but it felt so hard to say no, like if I don't they will all hate me. Story 40. I went in my college roommate's drawer without his permission. My college roommate had a vape that he got for free and never used, and I went in his drawer to hit it and he came back and found me with it. I was aware how much of a violation of privacy this was and am seriously questioning my morals, but I don't know if it's because I was caught doing so or because I genuinely feel bad. He didn't really care about the vape and just let me have it, but I feel terrible for violating his privacy. Is there anything I can do or say about the situation, or do I just let it go? I know how stupid this sounds. Story 41. I bullied my little sister when we were younger and I can't forgive myself. I am a 28Y0 female and my sister is now 23, turning 24 soon. When I was between the ages of 11 to 15 and she was 6 to 10, I was horrible to her. Name-calling, put-downs about her appearance, pulling mean pranks and making her do inappropriate things on home video to humiliate, embarrass her because I found it funny, such as telling her to take her trousers off and dance about. I was severely bullied myself during my childhood. My best friend isolated me, wouldn't let me buy certain things as I was copying her, took my pocket money off me, left me out, etc. I spent most of my school life sat in the toilets on dinner. I projected my anger onto my younger sister as she was an easy target, and it made me feel marginally better and was a release from the bullying I was suffering. We now don't have a relationship as she says the bridges have been burned and she can't forgive me. I have never regretted anything like I do this, and have tried on multiple occasions to show how sorry I am and prove I am different now, which I am. Has anyone else gone through this? I am struggling to deal with it now and feel like I don't deserve to be here. Story 42. It's my 19th birthday today and I've been awake the past 46 hours. My college has quarters instead of semesters and we just had our third term finals. I've been struggling a lot mentally with school, not because I can't learn but because I can't get myself to focus or stop procrastinating. Thursday night I pulled an all-nighter to cram for the finals and I still didn't do well on either of them after studying for 14 hours straight. I've also got a ton of missing assignments to do and that's why I'm still up. I feel really shitty about my situation, especially since I might fail those classes and I don't really know what's going on with me right now. My ADHD is really getting bad and I can't sleep well either because of my RLS. I don't have meds for either. Later in the afternoon today a bunch of my relatives are coming to see me. It doesn't even feel like my birthday. I feel like they'll be disappointed to see the shape I'm in. I would if I was them. Story 43. Separated and very heartbroken with a kid who is having a hard time. After being separated from my wife for a while, my kid told me she bought someone home. It didn't go over too well. I'll be honest, part of me is crushed but a bigger part just wants my kid safe. They're just uncomfortable with it. They want to come live with me but I don't live in the best conditions and there isn't a lot of room. I'd love to have them here because they mean more to me than any other individual. The ex and I told each other we love our kids more than we loved each other. Was that wrong? Maybe, but we meant it. I'll be honest, I was, at times, a horrible husband. Anger issues abound. Therapy didn't help. For me it was like listening to all that psycho babble, taking it all in, breaking it all down, trying to fit it into everything. Our time is almost up. There it goes. As much as I wanted it to work I couldn't let it. Wouldn't let it, which was weird for me because I was witness to what my dad did to my mom. I told myself I never wanted to be like my dad. Seems like the harder I tried the more I became him. It took me having to tell her, you need to tell me to leave. She did, so I did. Don't get me wrong, I wanted to be with her so badly. And it almost happened. My mistake was telling her how much I missed her. I should have just left and not said a word. Afterwards, I could see what was happening. I knew her too well. She would talk to friends. Friends who I know had her best interest. She later told me that she didn't want me helping anymore. It made her uncomfortable. I didn't want to make her uncomfortable. I wanted her to be happy, even if it meant me being miserable. I thought I'd react differently when my kid told me this evening. But my concern was for them. I asked what if it was the other way around? What if I had bought someone home? They said they never really thought of it that way. Why not? Guess they thought we'd always be together in some way or another. Look, I don't date. Number 1, I'm broke as fuck. 2, I ain't over her. And that ain't fair. Don't get me wrong, I've tried. But those two things seem to get in the way. Call me old-fashioned about the money thing. But not being over her, I think I would try to compare them to her. I don't want to hurt anyone ever again. Story 44. Shoplifting was a competition with us back in the day. Eons ago. In high school. We would go to the mall. Yes, it was the cool thing to do back then, hang out at the mall. Anyways, we would, and by we I mean a group of about 5 of us girls, have competitions to see who could shoplift the biggest dollar amount. I only won once. I had fearless friends. One walked out of Kmart with a TV. For crying out loud, two of us ended up getting busted on solo outings. Jail time was had, not by me, so the fun ended. But man, did I have clothes and makeup for every occasion for a while there. Kmart was the bomb for that, but when we were feeling our oats, we would hit up better stores. It was a rush, especially since we were competing for bragging rights. How stupid were we? We never once felt guilty, either. We were just putting the screws to the man. Stealing from the rich, giving to the poor. That kind of justification. Shrug. There's an ugly truth about me. I was a thief. Story 45. If I could go back in time, I would change everything. I feel like I've completely ruined my life, and I don't know how to move forward. 2 years ago, I failed my final exam because I was too lazy to study, and I lost my job. Since then, I've been struggling to find work, and no one will hire me. I feel like if I had just put in the effort back then, I wouldn't be in this situation now. On top of that, I regret not realizing what I had in front of me. 8 months ago, my friend and I were really close, and I had the feeling that he might have liked me. But I never acted on it, and we never talked about it. Then he got into a relationship with another girl. Now, after months of not speaking, he's single again, and I realize how amazing he was. He loved his ex so much. He talks about how perfect she was, how much he misses her, and it kills me because I could have been the one he loved like that. Instead, I spent my time talking to guys who only wanted one thing, and I was stupid enough to send nudes multiple times. Every single one of them left me. Now I feel disgusting, used, and ashamed. If I could go back in time, I would do everything differently. I would study, keep my job, and maybe even see if there was something real with my friend. I wouldn't have let myself be taken advantage of. I wouldn't feel this horrible, crushing regret. But I can't change the past, and now I feel like I've ruined every chance at happiness. I don't know how to move on from this, and honestly, I don't even know if I can. Has anyone else ever felt this way? How do you live with so many regrets? Story 46. I stole a juice box from a little kid in broad daylight. So, after 2 years of growing out my hair, I finally decided to go to a barber just to trim the ends and clean things up. I told this guy exactly what I wanted, nothing drastic, just an even trim. But this absolute idiot of a barber gave me the worst haircut imaginable. My hair was uneven, different lengths all over, and now the only way to fix it is to cut it even shorter. I was sitting there, fuming, devastated, questioning all my life choices that led me to this moment. In the middle of my horror show, a family walked in, and the barber handed their kid a juice box. I wasn't paying much attention at the time, still too busy mourning my hair. When my haircut was finally, and mercifully, over, I got up, still raging inside. As I turned to leave, I noticed the juice box sitting right there beside the kid. In my blind frustration, I just took it. I didn't think, I didn't hesitate, I just grabbed it and walked out. I'm now sitting at home with a terrible haircut, drinking a stolen juice box, and wondering if that poor kid cried over it. I'm not proud of what I did, but honestly, that barber deserved worse. Story 47. I was a horrible child when I was 12 and now I need to face it and somehow live with it. I was terrible. I was worse than a bully. Of course I was abused, but there's really no excuse for me. I personally believe that people like how I was at 12 shouldn't be alive, and each day I'm coming to the conclusion that I must hold myself accountable and demonstrate my belief. Yet at the same time I'm desperate to hear that it's okay, that I changed, that I'm not the same person, but that would be cheating my own belief. I have dreams and I have ambitions. I used to be very good at school, but lately I'm a disappointment. I'm only 18. I don't want to go. I want to reconcile somehow. I don't even know how. The damage is done. They forgot. I didn't. Story 48. This is what I do when I get mad at anything at all. Why? But I've always had this horrible habit. Whenever I get mad, I pull it out on those I love. I did it to my parents, and now I realize that I get mad at my boyfriend whenever I'm mad at something else. I've gotten better at controlling it, but now whenever I get mad, I'll type out a vile, horrible paragraph of everything I'm feeling, then I delete it and don't send it. I know it's unhealthy that this behavior is something I do, but I would say it's progress that I don't act on my thoughts. Story 49. My sister told me my dad and grandma are dead because of me. I 22F lost my dad when I was 19, he was 50. It was insanely heartbreaking. Nothing will ever prepare you for the feeling you get when you lost one of the people you love the most. There is a reason why the Dead Parent Club exists. I wouldn't even wish to my worst enemy to be a part of that horrible club. And this is a bit of a long story, but it is just something that I very desperately need to get out of my chest because I don't have anyone to talk to about this. My dad passed away 10 months after my grandma died from lung cancer. She had been smoking since she was 12 years old. She was 77 when she passed and the cancer had spread to everywhere in her body. She was the only family my dad had left besides from me and my sister. He divorced my mom when I was very young. My dad suffered a heart attack while riding a bike. He never really took much care of his health and he was in an abusive relationship with a schizophrenic woman who would hit him, stalk him. She would kick me out of his house saying I didn't belong there. My dad and I went through some rough times, but luckily we were able to form a very good relationship despite all of the hell he was going through. After my grandma died, I went away for college and my dad was going through a very hard, empty nest situation. He was completely alone if you don't count his abusive girlfriend. My sister was never around. She's 30 years old, so she never got to see or live through the rough times. Watching my dad survive through his abusive girlfriend, she got to live through my parents being married and having a normal family, a normal childhood. My sister was not even at my grandma's funeral because she decided she wanted to live away from the entire family. She acts and has always been acting like an extremely stubborn child. She seeks for attention by screaming or pretending to be hurt or sick. She manipulates everyone on her way. She lies to get away with anything. She is just a person you cannot trust, nor even have normal conversations with because she will always find a way to argue with anyone. To try to explain just a bit of how insane she is. One time she started yelling at her cat in the middle of the night because it was meowing so loud it wouldn't let her sleep. She woke up the entire house by yelling to the cat, "I'm going to K*LL you if you don't stop. I'm so sick of listening to you that I want to jump off the window and fucking K*LL myself." Nobody in my family seems to notice or grasp the level of insanity she has because of how much she has manipulated everyone. I have many stories to prove how crazy she is. Long story short, it's been 2 years without my dad. It has been incredibly difficult to move on with such a grief inside. My dad was my best friend. He was funny, witty, he worked at a radio and we always bonded a lot with music. He was such a cool dude. I consider myself to have a great taste in music because of him. During this time without him, we had to decide what to do with all of his belongings, his house with everything in it because his death was sudden, his car and even my grandma's house that he refused to go in because he was in such grief he couldn't bear to go inside her empty house. We were able to take care of all of their belongings. It took a lot of time, but we couldn't decide what to do with his car. I know that the only logical thing is to sell it, but my sister has always been refusing to that. She's also refused to buy the part of the car that also belongs to me. Some time ago my sister came up to me and all of a sudden she decided that she was going to take my dad's car because she had grown-up needs. Mind you, by this time she was 25. She took the car to a different state, in a city that's known for having bad drivers all over. I tried my best to keep it here, but she took it anyway, and the car that was in a perfectly good state because my dad, who had such an obsession with perfection and cleanliness, is now in pieces. Just by looking at the car now you can tell how much it has been neglected. All of the sides are scratched and have bumps. Even the license plate is twisted and shaped like an L. We recently went on a terrible holiday. My mom insisted that we go as family because they are all traumatized with my dad's sudden death. They are all now practicing the "you never know if you are going to be here tomorrow" mindset. While we were on that holiday, I saw my dad's car, which is under my name by the way, but nobody ever cares that I'm also the owner. Everybody always called the car my sister's car because she basically stole it from me. I saw how much damage the car had now and I couldn't keep my mouth shut. I told my sister how irresponsible she is by keeping it like this. She told me I was crazy and that I shouldn't even say my part because I don't have the car in my possession. She started yelling like she always does. At some point during this argument my mom tried to calm her down and she screamed at her too. She even started shaking like a 2-year-old toddler who doesn't know how to respond to emotions yet. I told her that my dad would be miserable if he saw the state that brand new car is now compared to how perfect everything was. She yelled at me saying that my dad died because of me, as well as my grandma. According to her, they both died of depression because I mistreated them both. Her source was that she had been keeping my dad's phone all this time though it was stolen by his crazy girlfriend who broke in his house like 10 minutes after he passed in the hospital and took God knows how many stuff. My sister never told anyone about the phone. She kept it to herself and apparently saw in my dad's phone that my dad had screenshots of my Instagram stories that I posted with my other grandma or with my mom for their birthdays. So, according to my sister, my grandma who had lung cancer died because I forgot to post a picture with her on Instagram, and so did my dad. It's not even necessary to say that my grandma didn't even know what Instagram was. She kept yelling that they both died because I mistreated them. My sister kept screaming at me, making fun of how I tried to speak calmly by imitating my voice. She made fun of how I'm taking longer to get my college degree than she is. I turned 18 during 2020 and was not able to start college until 2023. First because of COVID, and second because when I was finally out of this town my dad died, and I was not able to afford living in another city and study. She called me autistic. I don't even know why. She just kept screaming at the top of her lungs. Not even my mom was able to calm her down. Now she is finally gone again. She went back to the state she lives in, with my dad's car of course, and I can go back to my peace and quiet. I cried really hard for days. Somebody telling you that your entire side of one family is gone because of you, it's not something you can just forget about. I do not want anything to do with her anymore. I blocked her out of my life, especially social media, since she also said that I shouldn't even post a photo with my dad remembering him because it's my fault he's dead. I have many more stories to prove my sister's insanity. And I will no longer refer to her as my sister. She has broken me forever by saying something that there is no taking back. Not even the most sincere apology or the complete change of her personality could ever fix this. I also have many stories about my dad's abusive girlfriend that show how she is the one to blame most for his death. I know that I will be okay. I'm not alone, and I know that everything she said is not true, but it is also something I will never forget. This has changed everything forever. Shout out to my therapist. God bless that woman. Got a confession of your own? Drop it in the comments and subscribe for more shocking stories.